Welcome to Caseback Watches. My name is Tim, and in this video I have the pleasure to answer your questions, the questions you put under the last video. And by the way, guys, thank you very much for all the get well wishes. I think they helped me a lot because I feel much better now. Voice is still a bit fragile, but I think it will carry me through this video here. And without further ado, let's begin. And the first question comes from Dave Rumney, and he asks, why are modern watches so thick? I understand that display backs take an extra millimeter or two, but this doesn't explain why watch designers today have abandoned the idea that a watch needs to slide under a cuff and should otherwise just be non-intrusive. I think this is connected to the size and to the price, because watches become pricier, and when you spend, let's say, 5 grand, 5,000 on a, let's say, Zenith, then you really want your neighbor to see that thing. This is my theory. This is the reason why we have so many big watches nowadays. And if you have a watch with a case diameter of, let's say, 42, then you cannot make it slender, because this would create then this cookie plate thing. Imagine 42 and then, let's say, 10 millimeters in height would look pretty odd. And so I think this is the explanation here. And the next question comes from Lynette Nussbacher. What everyone in the English-speaking world needs to have. An episode on wristwatches of Hogan's heroes. Is Klink's Bund strap as authentic as his monocle? Is General Burkhalter's bronc clip bracelet as fake as his Schmisse? To be honest, I watched Hogan's Heroes 20 or 30 years ago, so I'm not really an expert, but I can tell you that his Bund strap is not authentic, because I've read several times that the Bund strap is a German invention from the 70s, and the Bund stands for Bundeswehr, which is the German army or the armed forces, and often people in Germany call the Bundeswehr Bund, just Bund, the short version, the short form, and this is why they call this Bund strap, because soldiers in the 70s of the Bundeswehr won that strap. I don't know if this story is 100% accurate, but I've read it, I think, several times, yes. And the monocle is not authentic. I know those movies with Nazi generals or with their monocles, but it was seen as highly eccentric when Fritz Lang, the director, he had this habit to wear a monocle in the, I think, 20s and 30s, and even then people found this extremely awkward. And when Fritz Lang then went to the United States later, his agent told him, stop that habit with a bloody monocle. Then we have Luca Bergamasco, and he'd likes to know, what is your view on rock in general and on great or so considered rock guitarists in particular? I'm thinking of the likes of Frank Zappa, Ritchie Blackmore, David Gilmour, Mark Knopfler. I would also add Tommy Iommi, who has a strange connection to Django Reinhardt. My connection to rock is none in existence, I think. I was highly influenced by my parents with classical music and jazz. And then as a rebellion, of course, I was into metal 2 or 3 years, 14, 15, 16, that age. And then I went back to jazz, and then I found it somewhat distracting and somewhat hard to hear all the time. And then I changed to swing and to Django Reinhardt. And I had a little intermezzo when I was really into modern blues, and there I heard or played tunes by Stevie Ray Vaughan. He really was an influence back then. That's the reason because why I have still this Stratocaster over there. But otherwise, I've made always a circle around rock, and it doesn't just not my cup of tea. It lacks for me personally a bit fascination and bit grip, I think. No, nothing more I can say about that. Rock for Tim, no, it's a big no. And then we have Frank Koller, so it sounds a bit German for my ears. And he'd likes to know the origins of the Caseback Watches logo, and if I know Pamplemousse here on YouTube. They do a very nice version of Le Jeu Noir. Yeah, I know them because I've heard them or seen the video about that, what was it? Mr. Sandman, which was an awesome, or is an awesome tune, and they play this very creative. I'm not the biggest fan of her voice, to be honest, but the overall song, the composition and the arrangement and everything fits in so well there. It's a highly entertaining and well-made video with deserved success. And the Caseback logo is a cobra, so a snake, and that's because I've asked a friend, what do you think about the name Caseback Watches in the early days of the channel? And he was like, sounds like a snake, you know, this black back, yellow back. And I thought, yeah, perfect. A snake is a symbol for desires and for a little bit risk and all those other things we have in the watch world, I think. And so I thought, well done. This is my animal of choice here. And then La Madame created that logo, and yeah, that's the story behind the logo. And now we have Kirk Hilton here, and he likes to know, what would you say is the difference between steampunk and dieselpunk? You've mentioned both in previous videos when talking about certain watches. What about atompunk? Yeah, of course, there's a scientific explanation to that. Steampunk refers to the era of the Industrial Revolution, so a sci-fi version of that revolution, which took place, as we all know, I think around 1750 and 1850. This was the era of the Industrial Revolution, and this is, yeah, steampunk, and dieselpunk is 40s. Dieselpunk is 40s, and so there you see Wehrmacht soldiers with crazy equipment. And of course, the word dieselpunk is way cooler than steampunk, I think. Tough Guy now likes to know my opinion about his new watch, a Ball Trainmaster Legend with a black dial. This is the massive and steel bracelet, I think. Yeah, he has the steel bracelet. This is a pretty massive 43mm ball watch with very distinctive hands and design elements, and really it makes an impression on the wrist, I think. But I remember your comments, and I think you are a bigger gentleman, or at least with larger wrist, and so really could be a piece who stands out. I have to admit, though, that my experience with ball watches is a bit limited. But if you're happy with that, yeah, with that piece, with that distinctive piece, then why not? Could be a really good purchase for you. Oh wait, there's an addition. What kind of leather strap would you choose for it? I would choose a traditional stitched strap in dark brown or a very bright color, so a bit like cognac. So maybe you have then an interesting contrast between your black dial and that strap. Only an idea. Next question here comes from Evan. Hey Tim, is there a reason you seem to avoid the topic of Grand Seiko on your channel? I would think those timepieces would be right up your alley. I think it's coincidence, to be honest. I like some of their designs pretty much, and I mean the quality is amazing, so it's a no-brainer. Could be a no-brainer. And I had some Seiko models, Grand Seiko models for Watch of the Week on the list, but every time another watch came across and I was fascinated a bit more by that. But bottom line here is, yeah, coincidence, not more. Next question comes from Côte du Rhein. Eine Frage, die ich immer gerne stelle, was war deine erste Uhr? So in English, a question I always like to ask, what was your first watch? This was a Quartz Dugina, I think, when I recall correctly. Dugina, Quartz Dugina, terrible piece. Then a Fossil, also Quartz, terrible piece. And my first real watch, my first automatic watch, was a Tissot Lisboa, or the Tissot Lisboa, because there's only one model out there. And I sold it later to my best friend, and he still enjoys it. And I have to say, it's a lovely watch, smidgen too big for me, but a lovely piece. And the next question comes from Otzi. Hi Tim, is it true that manufacturers use decorative or see-through case backs to stop our wives from engraving them with things like "To my snuggle bunny"? Yeah, I find even worse when people engrave their something for business reason. Imagine yourself, you have worked your 180 years in one building on one desk, and then your employee comes to you and gives you a golden watch. And then there are always those images with the poor guy who served his entire life behind one desk, and everything is around him and makes him smile, and you see on his face this moment of clear vision, and he realizes, I've spent my entire life behind that desk. Oh, damn it. Next question comes from Old Slap Size 45. What affordable alternatives are there to the Patek 3940? And yeah, given this a thought, but I didn't find a convincing piece, so I led this question to the audience. Please, if you know an alternative to that great watch, then put it here in the comments, please. And then we have Anxiety. This is his name. I have Anxiety. What is the most practical and useful function a watch could have in your opinion? For example, mine is date, since it is the thing that most people tend to forget, and it's also cheap to produce, buy and maintain. I second that, exactly. I'm very happy with the date on a watch, but I'm more happy with date and day because it's such a nice combination. It's such a convincing combination, and people often state that it's impossible to forget the day of the week. Might be, but if you have holidays or you're a bit distracted by so many things, and then you have this nice package on the wrist. Yeah, I second that. I love it. And by the way, I'm sneaking around a watch with those features here, but I made a mistake. But this is a topic for another video, I think. By the way, if this is the first time you visit this channel, every Friday I do these longer videos, very often with actual watches in the studio. And every Monday then, watch of the week. Those are brief appetizers under 4 minutes about, the watch of the week. And if you don't want to miss something, then please subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so that you get your notifications. And now let's carry on with your questions. Christopher Brogard likes to know, what kinds of practices do you recommend for increased accuracy and speed when playing gypsy jazz? You have to make your hand fly. This sounds a bit silly, but if you see most guitar players in, let's say, rock, they play with a hand like this, very close to the fretboard, and then your movement is very limited here. And what you have to do to play gypsy jazz or other advanced styles, you have to come through. You have to loosen your hand so that it flies over the entire fretboard, so that you have this ability to be fast and play with speed and attack. And then of course you have to practice more. In gypsy jazz they tell you the first 15 years are tough and then it's getting better. And now we have a question from Caribil. As a German content creator, how do you feel about Zeppelin watches? It is interesting to see some brands like Junkers, Sterling and other to use the Made in Germany inscription and offer sometimes questionable products. What are your thoughts on this aspect of the German watch industry? I feel a bit suspicious, to be honest. I had some Junkers and they were quality-wise absolutely okay. And what we have to see, all those brands, Zeppelin, Junkers, they come from the same factories, I think. So quality-wise, it's not a problem. But it's a bit too bold into marketing. Hey, see, we revive now a piece of German culture, put it in the watch. And to be honest, Zeppelin doesn't fit a mechanical wristwatch. Zeppelins were around in the 20s, let's say. This was not really the time. And so I always think there's a bit too much marketing in it and too little real watch enthusiasm. And so I've never bought one, and I will never buy one, I think. Yep. The next question comes from Pietro, and he likes to know, I'm allergic to most gummies or glues used with leather watch straps. Of course, anti-allergic straps do exist, but do not always live up to their promises. Is there some old trick one can use with leather straps so there are no itching red patches on the wrist anymore? Thanks. Yeah, interesting question, and I've given this quite a thought, because allergic against leather, this is not very likely, I think, and the glue is inside the material. So I could imagine that you are allergic against solvents. And if you have a cheap strap, then you can really smell the solvent inside, and the solvent can diffuse through the leather into your skin. And this is, by the way, exactly the reason why I debated so much with the company that produced my straps, that I want a solvent you can eat, really. Absolutely non-toxic without any form of dangerous solvents. And if you see modern solvents for leather work, it's something like this. Is Aquilium, is the name of this. The solvent here is water. I mean, you couldn't eat it, I think, but you can use it with your finger without any form of problem. And the sticky substance inside is some sort of liquid rubber. It smells like tires of your bicycle, but you cannot smell it in the product. And this was very important for me, because I don't want, even if I'm not allergic, I don't want dangerous solvents on my skin. And I'm wearing my own products. I mean, this is my Diplomatic on a 20mm strap. And so you could try out a very high quality strap. Unfortunately, this has its price. If you see leather straps on AliExpress, you can buy them there for $2 or $3 US. And of course, then is the cheapest shit in there they can find. And if nothing helps, then maybe you are the guy for the metal bracelet. And luckily, there are very beautiful metal bracelets out there. Okay, those were your questions. Thank you again for your participation and the get well wishes. Quite some Americans recommended Jack Daniels, and I followed that rule because I like bourbon in general and I like Jack Daniels, and I bought something interesting I'd like to show you. I wanted to try out the old-fashioned, and I bought this bitter aromatic produced in Fee Brothers in New York. And it's pretty gorgeous. You don't have to open it to smell this aroma. And my drink of choice is now 5cl Jack Daniels, few drops of this pretty strong herb, and then a bit of orange peel. And you may think orange peel, this is only decoration. And in fact, no, it really adds a smoothness to the drink. And then of course with ice. And I couldn't imagine this drink in the summer, but in wintertime it's cold outside, you're on your couch and you have a nice movie, and then you have your old-fashioned. It's just cozy, and this of course is the reason why I am sitting here in good health again. Okay, and the last question comes from me. Should we do live streams? I mean, we could do those Q&A videos in form of a live stream where you can ask your question in a chat and then I answer it. I could invite maybe other people as well, but I could start only me, only your question, but in a more lively form. And please tell me in the comments if you would enjoy that form of program here. And now I think I should stop talking with that voice, so thank you very much for your attention and until next time.